Hello and welcome to the Perth Gaming Cruise Show, episode 31. Today is an exciting day. We have Pat back. Pat, great to see you back after a few episodes. How you doing, bro?
Good, I'm good. Happy to be back, but we do have a very special guest today that you can see, Third Phase joining us.
Hello, hello.
And would like to introduce Dave from the Nostalgia Box in Perth. So, Dave, welcome to the show. Very excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Terrific. So, Dave, there are so many gamers out there in Perth and beyond. A lot of our listeners in particular, very excited to know that there is a museum in Perth for gaming and in other states as well. I've mentioned to a few people that we'd be having you on and they're quite excited. So thanks for joining us again today. One thing we ask all of our guests is about their favorite game of all time, but I would like to ask you what your favorite retro game is of all time, because it's a bit more fitting given that you run a museum about video games.
So obviously, I'm a little bit more privileged than a lot of people because I've literally got a catalog of over 1,000 games from hundreds of consoles that I can draw upon and sort of thing, and even the same game across different consoles has a different experience. But I mean, I'm going to go very basic. There's two games for me that is for me the best. There's the original Pong from the Atari, the one that we have in the museum. Anyone who has either followed our socials before or has even been to the museum knows that is kind of a staple of the museum and a very special piece for me because that's obviously what a lot of people get to verse me on. Personal collection, like if you said, Dave, you need to sit down and play a game for the next 2 hours sort of thing, what would you play? I would have to say it would probably be Crash Bandicoot 3.
Why
okay.
Crash Bandicoot 3 in particular,
on
Dave?
the original PlayStation there. Crash Bandicoot 1, it obviously was a starting point. It was great. So then Crash Bandicoot 2 built from that. But Crash Bandicoot 3, I think, was the sweet spot for the Crash Bandicoot series. I mean, I think it had a good mixture of all the best parts of 1 and 2, but it introduced its own elements in 3 there sort of thing. I love the bazooka that you could have with it. So, that's my game. That is my favorite game. If you said, Dave, you need to sit down and play for the next 3 hours this game. So
Totally get that.
That's incredible. That's the return of the king of the Crash Bandicoot series.
They've got all these new Crash Bandicoot games out at the moment on the Switch and everything like that, which is great. It's fantastic. I haven't had a chance to play any of it yet, because the ironic thing is, running a video game museum. Do I have time to play any video games? Of course not. That would be some kind of craziness. But no. But yeah, it all looks good. But again, I don't think you can ever beat Crash Bandicoot 3, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Fair.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Dave, you mentioned there were a whole range of consoles. I think Pat wanted to ask you a bit about that.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. That's it. Because I haven't been to the museum in a very long time. So I think when I first went there was years and years ago. It was still in the Northbridge area.
Was that in the location where we were around the side, or was that the front unit?
Oh, I didn't even know it changed. So I think it was around to the side. That
would have been with my predecessor, the person Jesse, who I bought the museum off originally. So we bought the museum back at the end of 2019. So obviously there was, it was a really sort of very small, very, very boutique sort of museum. It was a beautiful thing. I fell in love with the place when I sort of found it, obviously. That was when you obviously came there.
Yeah, until this past Sunday. So like the museum area was there was so much more there now. So it was very cool to see just all these like consoles I grew up. I even took some of the pictures because the first console that we ever owned when I was in the Philippines was there, which is like I think it's the Famicom.
Yeah.
Which is like little red with the red controllers, and it was just a throwback scene. I had to take a picture and send it to my dad because I remember when we first got it and we was playing all these games, and that was my first introduction to just like video gaming. So like seeing consoles like that was just an absolute throwback, and it just brings back all these good memories.
And that's the whole point of the museum, right? That's the whole mission there. Is basically you walk into the museum and you sort of say, I remember that one. Oh my God, that was what we used to play. Hey kids, come over here. Look at this. This is what Dad used to play on this game. You know, thing. I always tell most people that they tend to go through the 5 stages of grief. When they come into the museum, because
5 generations of grief.
Yeah, well, it's more along the lines of first it's in denial. It's like, why is that in a museum? It's not that old. What are you talking about? Then it's denial. You know, like saying, you know, like what? No, that can't be. I don't believe it, sort of thing. Then there's the sadness, obviously, like, oh God, it is over 30 years old. What am I doing with my life? Sort of thing. And then the acceptance and everything, and then they get to play it and show the kids. So it's always a fun thing. Like that, so.
No, it's super cool, and I think the first thing that we saw when we walked around was the Odyssey.
Yes.
And John was like, "What the hell is this?" And I very luckily knew what the Odyssey was, because if I'm not mistaken, these are the ones that you just had like the little rolly controllers, and then to play the actual game, you had to put like overlays on the TV.
Right.
You're just controlling like a little light that moves past the overlay.
The Magnavox Odyssey was basically the great grandfather of all video game consoles. So everything you know and love was birthed from that console. But it kind of sucked, especially by today's standards. I mean, don't get me wrong, you had to take steps before you got to the mountain, but those steps really sucked. I mean, like you said, there was an overlay. You literally had to put the screen on. You had to put the cartridge in for that specific game. And if you put the wrong cartridge with the wrong overlay on, you just would be very confused, sort of thing. You were just controlling the dots, sort of thing. It wasn't. But it was a starting point, and obviously we have to acknowledge that for what it was revolution. I always put it's probably like the equivalent of the first 3D printer. Nobody knew what the hell to do with it. It was something completely out of the box. But now you can't sort of you use a 3D printer in a lot of different aspects. It's something you can buy at J-Car, all these sort of things. So it's the same sort of equivalent. It was the start of its time. But compared to what came later, obviously, we can laugh at it, sort of thing.
Absolutely. No, amazing. Yeah. So just off of that, then, would you happen to have a favorite console?
Well, it was the one that came after the Atari Pong system, so that's the one that...
okay. Favorite game, yeah.
I mean, look, that being said, though, if we want to go a little bit more... because, obviously, that's from 1975. So
I couldn't believe it. I saw that and I thought, no, he's fudged the numbers here. I'm pretty sure the Nintendo, the Nintendo was the original console. There was something before that, and here I am talking to people about me being a retro gamer. I was like, oh, what? 1970s?
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't I see something the other day where the Xbox is almost like 23 years old now or something?
Oh, yeah.
And you look at it and say, no, it was yesterday. I don't think it's you anymore.
I remember having one of those, yeah.
But like if I was to go the more modern retro consoles, I have to say probably the PS2 is probably one of the
great choice. Great choice. Absolutely goated choice. I respect it.
Obviously, Nintendo has its own market, but everything they did had to change in the so you wanted a Mario Party, you had to get the new Mario Party for that console. You couldn't sort of just things over. Not easily anyway. Whereas I always found the PlayStation, the backwards compatibility with the PS2, so you can play your PS1 games with your PS2 games, sort of thing. They still had the memory cards and everything. The bane of my existence is the PS3 that we have in the store, because when people say, hey, can I put, we want to play FIFA? Okay, let's put FIFA on. It doesn't have enough memory. You need to delete all this memory. That takes you 20 minutes to do that sort of thing. And I'm like,
spoken like a true PlayStation gamer.
Whereas I'm just like, at least if I want to play any of it, Gran Turismo or Crash Bandicoot or any of that, I literally put my memory card into the system, load up my game with the CD, and that's it. I'm off to the races, sort of thing. So, again, I get a little bit behind the scenes of why I like that sort of stuff. So.
That's so good. I mean, we had an earlier episode, I think it was early in the year, where Pat and I were talking about some older consoles, and Pat was firmly in the PlayStation camp, and I was in the Nintendo camp, and just that when you mentioned PS, I thought he's gonna love this, because I'm pretty sure that's right up there for you too, brother.
Don't get me wrong, like I said, every console has got its good points and its bad points, and I'm not going to put the PlayStation 2 on a pedestal and say this is the quintessential console, but if we're going to go with what the easiest thing to play most games in your system, growing up, the PS2, I think, does take the cake for most things. So.
Yeah, brilliant choice. Brilliant choice. Speaking about history and like what Pat was mentioning before with the old location, so we understand you bought the place back in 2019 or 2020 from a lady called Jessie. Could you tell us more about that and why you chose to buy the place?
So when Jessie, who was the original owner, she was looking at selling up sort of thing. And she'd sort of had enough. I think there was a bit of burnout involved. I think it was a little bit cheap because she opened the store, I believe, in 2014. So it was about 5 years into it, sort of thing. And she had done an amazing job with building her social media presence, putting the thing together, having such a unique concept. It was but like she had to do so much legwork. I mean, I've done so much since then as well, sort of thing. But I'm building from foundations already set, sort of thing. Huge difference. I don't know if would have been able to do what she's done for that. So obviously it's a bit of it. And she said that she was, and I was dealing with her for a completely different reason. I was running a trading card game at the time, sort of thing. So I was doing some trading cards, and we were sort of doing meetup at the Nostalgia Box. So she was looking for things to do there and things like that, which is quite cool. And so I got to know her for a bit. And then when she said that she was selling the business, I really looked at this place and I said, I can see so much potential here with what could happen. So here's story time now, guys. Strap yourselves in.
We love story time. Go for it.
We love story time.
It's going to be that you're like, oh God. Okay. So so after doing all the due diligence and looking at the stuff, we were ready to do it. So we were in the side unit, which was 144 square meters. The plan always was basically to maybe in about 5 years' time, expand to maybe a bigger unit sort of thing, start building up sort of thing, because with what the rent was and what it was. The day before we were meant to sign the documentation, the landlords at the location basically said, we are going to be building a staircase in your space where your thing goes, because we're going to be adding a top layer sort of thing. So you have two choices. You can either have it smaller, we can expand it out a bit more, or you can move to the front unit. Now the front unit, much more expensive and bigger space. But so I had to go back to the bank and get a loan and so say a bigger loan and say, but I justified saying, look, it's not exactly what we wanted to do. We didn't plan to expand that quickly, but we can implement. We've got plans. It should be okay. It'll be a bit of a stress, but we should be able to do it. 2 months later, COVID hit.
Gosh.
75% of the business income was derived from tourism at the time. So all my business was based on having tourism still coming in and the school groups and things and OSH groups and things like that. So we had to implement all our business strategies immediately during the COVID pandemic. So we had no tourists coming in. We had to focus. We had the mask mandate. So remember, you could have only a certain amount of people at a time. Which in a way was a blessing this time because we went from 144 to 215 square meters. And the mandate was like one thing. We could still have 100 people technically in the venue at a time. So it didn't affect our numbers so much, but it's still very stressful. Obviously, all the school groups cancelled, all the OSH clubs cancelled. The only thing that was going was general entry for people, and the birthday parties that people didn't want to cancel and they'd take the risk and things like that. So very, very stressful situation, as you can imagine. Then and then after COVID, after sort of things started opening up again, we got to the point where we had 2 years left of our lease, but the rent was very, very expensive. And so we were getting to the point where it's like, we can't afford to keep paying the rent without expanding, because we couldn't make any more space. Like, we couldn't bring more people in to do the thing. So we had to make the decision of leaving where we were and moving to West Perth sort of thing. We were looking for a new place. Now, without going into spilling too much tea and everything like that, it has not been a pleasant experience with the landlords of what we've had to deal with sort of thing, and that's still kind of but end result, we finished up there, and we're now at West Perth sort of thing. So we're in West Perth. Everything's great. It was a very stressful move, as you can imagine, sort of thing, trying to get the thing in time, because obviously we had to wait for building inspectors to go through everything and approve everything, but they would not do that, the people, the landlords for the City West, which is owned by the Harvey Norman Group, wouldn't sign off until we had officially signed off all our documentation at City West. They wouldn't do any pre-work beforehand, which meant that technically, for me to open up in March, we had to do everything within about a 2-week period, which would have been near impossible and a lot of fancy maneuvering sort of things. So it was a lot of stress, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
No.
I can't even imagine. Like,
I used to have a full head of hair, I swear. Like, I used to have just long locks and everything. And, this is what it does to you. But yeah, so obviously with all that. But now we are in a very, very good spot. We were a little bit worried with our move, obviously, because we were right next to the museum, so we did have a little bit of more foot traffic. But with what we've done now, that we're next to SciTech, the space is becoming a more family-centric area, so it's building up by itself, so becoming a reputation for people to come to that area now. And it's just more better parking right next to the train station. The Fat Brew's right next door to us, so there's all these reasons to keep going.
So accessible near SciTech, very handy, very visible.
So we're very happy with the move, and we're very happy with where we are. So
amazing.
Oh, great. And look, speaking of the move and what's available now compared to those COVID days and everything you've been through, what can people expect when they come to see the Nostalgia Box? Because there's a whole range of programs. Can you tell us a bit of
apart from the fact we can have
more about those,
in there, sort of thing. Like I said, we've gone from 215 square meters to now 367 square meters. So much bigger space, which means we can have more bigger events. Obviously, apart from general entry and all the things that you can do with your OSH clubs and your school excursions and your birthday parties and corporates and all that sort of stuff, we run events all the time, monthly sort of thing. We have a monthly quiz night. That has been building up. We've been doing that because I'm a professional quiz host and DJ by profession as well before I bought the Nostalgia Box.
So
amazing. Very cool. Very handy.
Yeah, so I've got...
You do have the dream job after all, don't you, Dave?
I've always said I'm cool by association. By any other means, anyone would think I'm a professional DJ, I'm a professional quiz host, I run a museum sort of thing, like DJ, video.
That's cool.
I should be cool. I'm not cool, but I just pretend I am with all my jobs that I do, so it's fine. So we do monthly quiz night sort of thing, and they've been getting bigger and bigger and more popular. We had a sellout quiz night for the first time ever a couple months ago, which was fantastic. We do our Pokemon and Pizza Day every school holidays as well.
Nice. What a great combo. Such a great idea.
Yeah, so basically we set up all the retro Pokemon games. We do Pokemon origami, Pokemon drawing, Pokemon Pokeball building and things like that. And we also make which has now been our sort of staple of these things is the Pokeramas, where basically you pick 3 Pokemon figurines that we give you, and you make your own little Pokemon terrarium in a ball and things like that. And
cool.
That's wild.
Such a popular thing. We've done them at some of the pop culture events as well. We're now doing them as incursions for OSH groups sort of thing. We have to date, I think, sold almost 1,000 Pokeramas sort of thing. We are at that point
amazing.
Now. And that's since we started. And when I first started this, I was trying this concept and see if it was going to work. We had maybe maybe 15 people at the Pokemon Pizza Day. I thought, yeah, this is good. The last Pokemon, the one before that, we had a sellout session of about over 80 people. The one before that, we had about 60 people, and that's the constant now, which is great. So we've got new events coming up as well. We currently, until up to the end of this year, it's not going to be doing next year, but up to this year, we've been doing a burlesque show once a month. So running through art and production. So we have burlesque dancers come and do like a big performance thing, which is always great. We're going to have comedy next year. We've had speed dating before at the Nostalgia Box. It's called like Fine player.
Choose your character style kind of thing.
More along the lines of what we do. It's speed dating like at a table, but instead of a table, we actually set you up at the console. So you're playing a random person to thing, and
it's not gonna be like Street Fighter or something. It's gonna be like a cooperative.
You will get a good sense of a person how they deal with victory and how they deal with
That's very true.
So if they,
that's such a good idea.
Sing Star Karaoke, we've done that before, and we're planning on doing that next year as well. We are always constantly trying to innovate and get new ideas. We're doing new craft projects as well, like the piranha plant. We've made some piranha plants before, so people can make that as well. That's going to be a new Mario.
Are we talking Mario?
Yeah, Mario
piranha plants?
Yeah.
It has to be. Love it.
So that's something. We're going to be doing a Minecraft one next year as well. So we've got all these projects
Love
planned,
it.
and we just keep building and building and building. So as long as we keep getting the support from the community, which it looks like we keep doing, then we will keep doing these things and making sure there's a space for people to come to visit us.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
And where I imagine that people will, they'll hear about this just by following your
Oh,
socials.
absolutely. Look, if you're like we got the Facebook and the Instagram. We're trying to build up our YouTube and TikTok, but that's that's a future Dave's problem. Dave's not thinking about that right this
Can't
very
do it all.
second.
Can't do it
Yeah.
all. There's only one
I was
Dave.
going to say, but our Facebook and Instagram, we're very active on there. We post at least once a day,
Amazing.
sort of thing, if not, or once every other day, sort of thing. Whether or not it's like, hey, reminder, we've got quiz night coming up, or hey, this is a cool thing that happens. These people donated these cool things to us today. Just
Oh,
so there's
amazing.
constant news feed, so you won't ever be bored with something on there. We recommend on Facebook to follow us if you want to know what events are happening, because we obviously have the events that we create on the Facebook, so you can see what's happening and get those reminders.
Yep.
Instagram is good just to still see us on your feed and say, hey, what have they been up to today, sort of thing.
Nice. Dave, you mentioned like some of the social media channels that people can follow you on. We had a look today and we saw you had a visitor from Texas who came and was playing Guitar Hero. It was a fantastic post. Could you tell us a bit more about one of your favorite memories or even that experience that you've seen your customers come through? Do you have one that stands out, or is there something you could share with us
There's,
It
in
could be
particular?
funny, something you hate. Like,
Oh no!
just something.
Look, basically, there's never been a hateful situation, because you don't come to the nostalgia box
Yeah.
for trouble or for issues or anything like that. You basically everyone who comes there is either coming there for the first time and leaves with the biggest goofiest smile on their face, or they're regulars that come literally weekly or bi-weekly or monthly sort of thing, and they just sort of, because they know it's a space that they can just sort of relax. It's not overstimulating. We have a lot of neurodivergent people come. A lot of people come with their support workers and things like that.
Yeah.
Probably like one of my favorite customers. He's a gentleman that comes. He's been coming for 3 years. So ever since I opened up the nostalgia box sort of thing, he discovered us. He's been coming to the nostalgia box every year with his support worker every Friday, non-stop, for like the thing. And he has his own. He loves playing Gran Turismo. And so he's got his own memory card at the nostalgia box, so we save that for him.
Wow.
So every time he comes in, he can just put his memory card in and continue playing from where he left off, sort of thing. So, and I just think it's so special to have something like that where people can do that. Obviously having people come who come all the way from the other side of the world, and who literally just sort of think, we heard about this place and we had to come and visit it, sort of thing, because we wanted to see it. Watching people with their older people with their grandkids and things coming into the store and being able to play a game cross-generational, something that the kids know of and the grandparents used to play, and get them to get excited, and watching the kids sort of get excited about it. Nothing's funnier than watching a kid who's thinks they're hot stuff with Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch, and then give them an N64 controller and say, right, go for it. And they're like, wait, how do I hold
Yes.
it? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And then watching mum and dad have a go at it and say, that's how you do it. And they're watching them all have fun with it. So.
Nice. Love it. Yeah, when I was there, I was telling my wife, basically, one of the things that I just loved seeing, like, it noticed such an inclusive and felt like a really safe space and really exciting, just a joyful space. Great feel about being there, Dave. I saw a father and his daughter, about teenage years, just playing a retro console together. And, I've got a daughter of my own thinking, yeah, I'll bring her back here. I'll bring her back here for some Wii tennis or something like that. But I wanted to throw to Pat, because Pat and I tried a few of your games. And I think when you come to a video game museum, you want to read about the old consoles. For me, I loved seeing you had like a whole bunch of Hyper magazines from back in the day that I used to collect. But we were like, all right, what games has he got on display? Has he got the favorites? Is he a true gamer? And there was a whole range of stuff from NBA Jam to Crash Bandicoot to Super Smash. I'll try not to spoil everything, but if you remember games from back in the day, so to speak, I feel that there was something for everyone. But I did want to ask Pat, we played a few games together. What was like your favorite game when you were there? Because a lot of these games were multiplayer as well.
Dude. There were so many. I mean, like the first thing that we tried was was it, Marvel versus Capcom? On the
Yeah. Oh,
old,
I wanted to
straight
take
in
that
there.
arcade
Straight,
home.
yeah, straight in there.
Oh.
Straight in there. Marvel versus,
Oh.
the moment we saw that, we were like, yep, it's happening. Marvel versus Capcom. So immediately, and of, like John said already, NBA Jam. I'm a huge fan of NBA Jam. It was even like, it's the NBA Jam that I remember. I'm unfortunately terrible at it, but it's great fun. It's a good time. Duck Hunt as well.
Oh, Duck
I
Hunt.
I have not held that a light gun since I was literally like a boy, which would have been like, yeah, it would have been like 30 years ago almost. So that's seeing that again. And also I like the fact that I like the fact that your light gun works, because
Yeah.
I tell a I tell a lie. I have held a light gun, but it's like one of those weird ones where they either just work every two shots or something, and it's just like, it's just not accurate. You even had the right TV
Well, that's
for
the
it.
thing. The light guns
Yes.
only
Yes.
really work with the CTR TVs. So so that's
Yes.
why you're probably finding that's the issue. And that's the thing. We need to have those TVs because some of these
Yeah,
consoles won't
Hmm.
work on your modern TV, or they
yeah,
won't work well because. As you guys probably know, a lot of the games back in the day, they were designed
Hmm.
specifically with the flicker in mind, right? So the frame rate and everything, what they do. So that's why when you
yeah.
play something like Castlevania, on
Hmm.
the original, on like a CRT TV sort of thing, it looks great, and you're like, this is amazing. And then when you
Yes.
put it on a HD thing, and you're like, oh, this looks garbage. This is not what I want. I think
Yes, it's so true. And it's so funny you say that, because I've got some of the recent compilations, including the Castlevania one, and I've played it without the CRT filter, because I thought I put the CRT filter and I thought, no, I didn't play games like that back in the day. They didn't have all these visible lines that are low res. No, no, no. And then I played without and I thought, why is Simon Belmont flickering? Like, I can't hit these monsters. What is going on? But that's all part of it. Yeah. Gee, the games that the standout for me, well, there are a few standouts, like the ones I love playing Duck Hunt again. I hadn't played that for 20 years or
Yeah,
more, just thinking, he's got Duck Hunt. I'm in. I'm coming back.
yeah,
It's done.
absolutely.
And it was accurate. It was like, oh, this is really good. But
Yeah,
I was showing Pat Super Mario Brothers 2. Pat's like, what's going on here? He's like,
yeah.
character select. And I'm like, dude, this is the Super Mario. This is the family member that no one talks about. This is the Super Mario Brothers game that people don't love, and it's on the spotlight. Number 2 is the best. You throw on turnips. You're choosing characters, and I was like, choose a character, and I think Pat chose Luigi, and I was like, oh, brother, what are you doing?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
slippery, he's got
Yeah.
his wiggly jump. It was just so good to like come back and play those games. Do you have a favorite within the museum yourself that you play from time to time at all, or not?
I really wish I did, but you don't really get. Again, like you really don't have the time.
Hmm.
Think of Willy Wonka running a chocolate factory, and he's sitting in his office doing his tax report. That's what I essentially
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I did notice that on the day.
That being said, as well, a little while ago, I sat down and replayed Pokemon Red on the original Game Boy, sort of thing.
Oh,
Because I was like, you know what, I haven't played this in years. I want to go back and play this, and it was great because obviously back in the day we had the manual book that with the cheat codes and what you had to do to sort of. But nowadays you can just go on the internet and I can find all the things, so I don't have to spend 50 hours trying to find Missing No or whatever it is. I can just say, I remember what now. It's right there. I can just go.
Yes, straight there.
So,
There's the guide. There's the video guide telling
exactly.
you how to do it step by step.
Things like, and it's funny you mentioned things like Duck Hunt and all that sort of stuff. Like we've had people get to the kill screen, and so we know it takes 2.5 hours specifically to get to the kill screen on Duck Hunt or things like that.
No.
Actually, funny story about Duck Hunt specifically.
Love it.
All right, so we had the record back in the old location. We had a record for Duck Hunt. Somebody came in and spent the 2.5 hours to beat the record, sort of thing. So we gave him a prize. He thought, wow, that was amazing, great job, fantastic thing. 2 weeks later, about 2 weeks later, the original guy who had got the original score came in, said, who the hell beat my score? And then he spent 2.5 hours going to the kill screen to try and beat the score. He didn't quite manage it, but he went right next to the guy sort of thing. So we always find that.
That's amazing.
And the other thing as well, like on Duck Hunt, like on that system, we've got Time Crisis there as well, which we can.
Yes.
We've got.
Oh, we didn't play it, Pat. Next time we didn't play it.
FOMO is very real here at the Nostalgia Box. One of the hardest things, but you watch people go through the museum and they look at all the video games. and they just stare there for like a minute, and they're just like, and it's like the problem is, if you play one thing, you're not playing something else, and you don't. It's like, where do you
Yeah.
start? And like, I want to spend
Yeah.
all this time in this game, but there's that game over there that I really want to play.
Yeah.
And you suddenly find like, why did I think only an hour was going to be enough time for this? Like,
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned that because that taps into that whole arcade spirit back in the day where you were lining up to get into the arcades, and like you mentioned about Duck Hunt. I mean, Duck Hunt wasn't a Nintendo, but games like that were in arcades where you'd come back to the arcade and go, "Hang on, that's not my initials. I don't know that person. I got to stick back and like put in my not quarters, my dollars." And I remember doing that to try and beat those high scores. Like I think the sense of place that you've created. And the immersion and bringing back those retro feelings as well. And just looking, I mean, I had that FOMO myself. I kept saying to Pat, someone's playing the Wii, bro. Like, let's just stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like, I need to play Wii tennis. And we didn't get there, but hey, I guess we'll be back.
That's why we have repeat customers. That is why once you come once, you tend to come back again, sort of thing. And again, we try to make the space as well, like, as affordable for most people as you can. Like, I'm not going to lie. Shit is expensive at the moment. Everything keeps going up. And if you've got a family of kids, with kids sort of thing, and you want to take them out places, but you can't afford to take them to Aqua every day. You can't take them to Time Zone and spend $50 for 10 minutes, sort of thing. So we've always wanted to make sure that this space is somewhere that you can go and you can say, you know what, I'm spending $13 for the kids to spend as much time as they want playing these games, which they love, which we can enjoy with them, sort of thing, and they can do that. And that's why we've always tried to make sure these tickets are valid for the whole day. So providing we don't have to close for a private function, which we do a lot as well, obviously, especially on the weekends because of birthday parties and corporates, and everybody wants to come here. But generally speaking, we try and do that sort of thing. So
that's awesome. No. Oh, Pat, sorry, did you have something?
Oh, no. I was just going to say it was a fantastic time when we were there, and I wish we could have stayed longer because absolutely we would have lined up for the Wii and we would have tried all the other games that were there.
Sounds like a good excuse to come to the quiz night because the quiz night's general knowledge.
I
agree. But you got gaming beforehand and gaming afterwards, quiz in the middle, pizza included with your ticket, and it's BYO. So, I mean... And tickets are only $22. So, I mean, I don't think you can really get a better night out for that with that price, right?
We were discussing that, actually. We were talking about how we were probably going to go, like, we were wanting to go to a quiz night because we saw it on a little billboard at the front over there. We were like, quiz night? Like, quiz nights? That's awesome.
Genius. Like, just knowing you can meet with all the other gamers out there that you've not met, because, like, there's so many of us out there and going, oh, I know I'd love to test my knowledge and just hang out together as a group.
I will say, though, the quiz is not gaming related. We've made it as accessible to everyone. You might have one or two gaming questions in there, of course.
Okay.
The thing is, though, if we made it just for gamers, that would shrink our audience a lot. Even if we have the most dedicated crew of hardcore gamers, that doesn't mean you're always available to come to the quiz night that time that it comes on the month or thing. So we make it a general knowledge quiz night so everyone can come. But that being said, there is no reason at all why the gamers can't then go and kick everyone's butt at Guitar Hero and everyone's butt at Wii Sports and and all the other games that go with it, sort of thing.
Time to shine, Perth gaming community. That's brilliant. We'll have to wrap up soon, but one thing I did want to ask you, you talked about what's on offer at the moment. Is there any retro console, or do you have any plans to expand on any of the services offered or the features available? Is there anything you'd love to be doing in the next couple of years that you'd be able to share with us?
Look, I mean, the goal for the 5 to 10 year mark is to get a building. Like, we would like to have a space like SciTech where we have our own dedicated, because that way, if we could do something like that, we wouldn't necessarily need to close the venue for private functions. You could have a room dedicated to people having their private functions. But again, it's one of those things that's the long-term thing. In the short term, though, we have got a lot of projects coming up. A lot of the stuff, especially like to help the community and do things. We're working on what we're calling the ARC project at the moment. So that's the accessible remote control. So as you're probably aware, like things like your Xbox Ones and your PlayStations 5 and everything, people who have a disability, you can buy special controllers that. But there's nothing like that for people in the retro game. That
very
was never
true.
something that so we've teamed up with Curtin University Robotics Group, and they're actually in the process of making us a prototype and a thing. So people who have got like MS and FS and things like that, they all these sort of diseases where you have mobility issues. It's going to be a controller that we can plug into any of the consoles, and they can actually still play it, sort of thing. So
amazing.
That's beautiful. That would be wonderful.
So the prototype is going to be just for the N64, but the next one after that will be literally it's basically be a special plug that you can plug in, so you can use it at any console. So that's like one of the things we're doing. We're trying to obviously like have all our things translated to different languages at some point. So because we get a lot of international tourists, or Singapore, China, Germany, you name a country, we've had people come in regularly. So we'd love to be able to translate all our stuff to language so it's easier for people to see. To be honest, a lot of the projects we've planned for, we have succeeded, and we keep aiming for, and we keep going. Like little things, like I would love to have every single Pokemon game ever done. Like I'd like for the full play.
Like its own little section, maybe like a Pokemon themed area that you could go into, and it's immersive.
Like, obviously,
and then
in our when you come there for the Game Boy section, you can actually see all the Pokemon games on one side.
We did see that. Did see all the handhelds.
So, I mean, like we've got all the Game Boy games and the Game Boy Advance games. We are in the process of trying to get all the DS and 3DS games that go with it, sort of thing. But again, it's one of those. That's more of a I would like. The same thing I would like to have all the Mario Party games, sort of thing. Like all these sort of things. But again, those aren't gonna make or break the nostalgia box. But I feel like things like the Arc project is something that really does bring more people in, because the one thing that always just blows my mind is how people don't cater for those with disabilities. And we've made sure that our venue is we accept companion cards. We're part of the Welcome Here project. We've we love these people because they come in regularly, and they have so much fun that they keep coming back. And apart from the fact that is an amazing thing for the community in general, and to make sure these people feel like wanted and they've got a space that they can do that, I get money from it. So why would you not do that? I mean, I don't understand.
It's a win-win for everyone.
I know, exactly. It supports the business and make sure that that happens for people, which is great. So
that's
incredible.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say incredible. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, Dave, we had a fantastic time visiting. We really appreciate you making time for us to visit, showing us around, the museum. It was great. We will come back. We will be at a quiz night. We'll have to read up on our kind of general knowledge, maybe a little bit more. Hoping I get an inside edge with the gaming knowledge, but it might, maybe not. But terrific to see what you do for the people in Perth and beyond. It's great. We'll put out the good word. We've loved having you on the show. Thank you so much. And that is actually all for us today. And that's the Perth Gaming Cruise Show. Over and out. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thanks, guys.